We got to talk about snacks to avoid.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, snacking is something that can be healthy, right? Like you can have a healthy snack. There's so many great options out there. You've got Greek yogurt, which is an amazing source of protein. You've got eggs, like a hard-boiled egg. Like, look, I'm not a fan of them, but plenty of people love them, right? Great source of protein. One of nature's few multivitamins, right? We've talked about how eggs contain a little bit of everything necessary to grow a healthy brain. You can snack on those. You can snack on veggie sticks, right? Like sliced veggies with the dip of your choice, guacamole, right? Guacamole, primarily avocado. Wonderful, wonderful brain food. Low sugar beef jerky. Beef jerky is great. You got dried fish. There's so many great snack options out there. Fresh fruit, an amazing snack. But what are the snacks to avoid?
Yes.
Well, I would say commercial fruit smoothies are pretty bad. They are calorie bombs. If you go to your average supermarket, I'm not talking about a smoothie that you would perhaps make for yourself in your own house, right? But commercial fruit smoothies are usually some combination of whole fruit pureed, but also with fruit juice, right? And other additives that act as preservatives. And those smoothies can contain sometimes upwards of 500 calories, which is a lot of calories to drink in one setting. You're not chewing, so you're not getting your brain isn't getting the feedback of what it would normally get when you're eating food, when you're masticating, chewing food. It doesn't really stretch out your stomach in the same way that eating whole fruit would. And so there's very little satiety effect that is induced with the consumption of fruit smoothies, especially these commercial smoothies, which are so precarious because of all of the calories, all of the sugar that's squeezed into such a short volume. It can upset the stomachs of many people, the GI tracts of many people, because of the amount of sugar and fructose.
The high volume of sugar that's squeezed into
Such a small volume.
This small. Well,
high amount of sugar.
Of sugar.
Yeah.
In such a small volume of product.
Of food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bolus is the proper way. In such a small. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just a ton of calories. And normally when you eat food with fiber in it, right? There's water in the food, there's fiber, the food matrix, right? And the mere act of chewing is a slow it's much slower than when you're consuming a beverage, right? Yeah, slurping down a smoothie.
Term.
Yeah, it's when you're eating, it's very slow. And so that allows your brain time to register the fact that you're ingesting calories. That's not the case when you wolf down a fruit smoothie that has upwards of 500 calories. You can do that and still be hungry for real food.
Right.
Whole fruit, on the other hand, it's self-limiting. It's much more difficult to consume more than one whole piece of fruit at a time, right? But in a fruit smoothie, you can consume many whole fruits at once, right? Because they're pureed and because of the speed at which you consume them. So I think we really have to avoid these. Now and then it's fine, but at the end of the day, these are not health foods. And I think one of the worst things about them is that they masquerade as such.
Right.
They market themselves as health foods. So you think you're doing your health a favor when you buy them, and usually you're not. I mean, context is everything, right? So I mean, like, the person listening to this might have a calorie budget for that, but for most people, that it's just a calorie bomb that you likely don't need. You want to eat your calories. You don't want to drink them.
Yeah. Okay. So we're avoiding,
for the most part.
Yes. So we're avoiding
commercial fruit smoothies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another snack that I think people really should be mindful of and potentially try to avoid are rice cakes. Rice cakes also masquerade as health foods.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, but when they're made of brown rice, they can harbor arsenic. A study came out a couple years ago that was really sort of it made people very uncomfortable, right? Because brown rice was thought to be this hallmark of healthy eating, right? Mm-hmm. It's a staple in the macrobiotic diet. Right. But depending on where brown rice is grown, it actually can accumulate arsenic, which is removed when they polish the rice to make it white. And what they found was that depending on where the rice is grown, rices can harbor more or less arsenic. And and rices grown in the south of the U.S. had a lot more arsenic than rices grown in, say, California. But one type of product in particular where they found startlingly high levels were rice products. So products made using rice. This can be potentially rice protein derived products, products made with rice flour. If it's made with brown rice, you generally, because they're not going to use the more expensive California grown rice in those products, right? They're going to use cheap rice for the most part. So rice cakes, your innocuous, healthy rice cake, it's like an Instagram influencer's perfect food, right? Like the things that you can do with a rice cake.
Yeah, 6 recipes
for
using a rice cake.
Yeah, actually could be a vehicle for arsenic in your diet. Yeah. They're also low in fat and they're primarily starch, so they're not very satiating.
Okay.
You can kind of doctor a rice cake up a little bit by putting, like stuff on it, peanut nut butter of your choice or whatever, but rice cakes in and of themselves are not very satiating. And also a lot of people have trouble digesting brown rice. Like brown rice is not as easy to digest as white rice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so, generally you want to, if you tolerate brown rice, great, go for it. I tend to eat a low grain diet, but white rice tends to be much more easily digested by people. It's the insoluble fiber in brown rice that can sometimes make it difficult. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got commercial smoothies, brown rice cakes. What else you got for things to avoid?
Snacks to avoid.
Snacks to avoid. That's it.
Another very common snack is the humble granola bar. But granola bars can be a massive Trojan horse for sugar, added sugar. Today, the average American consumes 77 grams of added sugar every single day. If you just visualize that, that's almost 20 teaspoons of added sugar.
The passion.
Yeah, well, it's a big problem.
The
insidious nature of added sugar in the standard American diet is a huge issue. A little bit of sugar here and there is not a problem. Like there's nothing inherently toxic or fattening about sugar. That's something that we in the wellness industry, I think we need to be a little bit better about communicating, right? But what is toxic is the amount that we're consuming on a daily basis, because sugar is empty calories. We have no biological requirement for added sugar. And it's put into everything with the intent of making those foods, usually ultra processed foods, hyper palatable so that we don't tire of consuming them. And granola bars, they have this sort of, we use the term granola to say, to describe somebody who's like earthy, right? And hippie and earth centered, right? So it's got this sort of like healthy halo on it, granola bars, but the reality is most granola bars are dessert, lots of added sugar. And also it's hard to sometimes identify the added sugars, like they'll mask them. They'll use like brown rice syrup, which sounds vaguely healthy, or date sugar. So yeah, you definitely want to be sort of mindful of those. Most granola bars are junk.
And it's not going to do anything to satiate you in between meals, which is...
It's a candy bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a candy bar.
Interesting.
It's a candy bar. And now I think consumers are starting to get wise to this, and manufacturers are realizing that consumers, they're thanks to, like our podcast and others in the wellness space that are making consumers demand more from the food industry. They're starting to be a little bit better, reduce the sugar content, be more transparent about the sugar content. In these kinds of products, they're starting to increase the protein, which we know increases satiety. So it's going to make you feel more sated when you consume one. It's not going to necessarily make you feel like you need to go back for a second one. I remember, what was that brand of granola bar that came in the green wrappers? And it was like 2 of them. Was it like Nature
Valley?
Yeah, those were so good.
They were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crumbs would get everywhere.
Yeah. There's still memes about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were the tastiest.
They were great.
But I would never feel satiated with just even the 2 that came in the package.
Yeah.
They were so good.
They were good.
Delicious. So much sugar probably.
Yeah.
And a lot of these granola bars they use on healthy oils, like the grain and seed oils, which we've talked about. You want to do your best to minimize your ingestion of those oils. So yeah, definitely want to cut back on the granola bar consumption, as tasty as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What else you got? That was our third one.
Yeah. Well, I think a big problem is the low fat dairy products with added sugar,
Okay.
like yogurts with added sugar, and low fat and fat free in particular. Low fat and fat free dairy products, because they've removed the fat, which is otherwise very satiating and makes the product tastier. Manufacturers add lots of sugar, and I think this is why observationally we see that low fat and fat free dairy isn't associated with the kind of health uh, halo that we see with consumers of full fat dairy. Like full fat, the consumption of full fat dairy is often associated with better cardiometabolic health, like lower risk for type 2 diabetes, lower risk for cardiovascular disease. It's the low fat and fat free dairy that is either not associated with lower risk or is associated with worse health. And I think part of that um, is potentially confounded by the fact that low fat dairy has often lots of added sugar. So the yogurts, like the fruit on the bottom yogurts where they put fruit
Mm-hmm.
and they'll add a ton of extra sugar and stuff. It's not, yeah, it's not good. I mean, kudos to people out there for, yogurt can be, again, such a healthy snack. We talked about it at the beginning, right? It's a great source of protein. Dairy protein is a pristine source of protein, branched chain amino acids, right? Great source of minerals like calcium, magnesium. So if you're going to eat yogurt, I would say get plain unsweetened yogurt, maybe like a Greek yogurt.
Mhm.
Greek yogurt tends to be very protein dense. And I actually don't care if you get fat-free, plain, unsweetened yogurt or full fat, whatever your
I was just
preference
going to
is.
ask because you and your refrigerator have the 0% fat
Yeah.
Greek yogurt. So I saw Max Lugavere wearing cargo pants. So I bought 0%, but now you're telling me I should have 2% if I want to, or like,
No,
It
here's the thing. With Greek yogurt, removing the fat makes it an incredible protein snack.
okay.
It's almost like a protein supplement. It's because you get like 80 to 100 calories in a cup
Yeah.
and 18 grams of protein.
Bomb.
Yeah, 16 to 18 grams of protein. And it's very cheap, by the way.
Mhm.
Like Fage yogurt,
Yeah.
right?
Love it. Purple.
Yeah, it's super cheap. As I mentioned, we don't see a positive health effect observationally from people who, when we look at people who consume low fat and fat free dairy, but I think it's because oftentimes they put added sugar in those products, right?
Okay.
So as I mentioned, that's a potential confounder
Okay.
in that research, but there's no reason why a fat free Greek yogurt, if it's plain, would be unhealthy, particularly if, already it's quite healthy because of the protein, and then you could add your own fruit to it, right?
Yeah.
So you're not getting any of the added sugar. You're adding your own fruit to it, and it's a great snack. I mean, I eat it by. I'll do the full fat sometimes because full fat contains fat soluble antioxidants and like vitamins, for example, that are skimmed off when they remove the cream and they make it fat free. So sometimes you want low fat, or sometimes you want full fat. But if you're weight conscious, if you're trying to lose weight, or if you just simply want a high protein snack to meet your protein macros without adding additional fat calories, no fat or reduced fat Greek yogurt is a great food.
Amazing. Is there a yogurt that is as protein dense that's dairy free, that's non-dairy, would you say? Like for all our listeners who can't stomach
dairy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dairy. Is there like a yogurt replacement for them or no?
Unfortunately, no. There's like almond-based yogurts, coconut-based yogurts now. But coconut is very low in protein, as is almond. So,
Okay.
I mean, usually those yogurts are a little bit of coconut, a little bit of almond, and lots of gums.
Yep.
I mean, to make a yogurt, to create a yogurt-like consistency, they add a lot of gums, like xanthan gum. Yeah, which is, it's fine if you don't like dairy. A lot of people don't tolerate dairy well, right? But if you tolerate dairy, I think, it's really great that you can get such a high quality protein and such a low calorie and cheap and easily accessible snack, right? Like you can go to most places in this country and find plain yogurt.
Yep.
So that's what I would do. I would buy plain yogurt, and I would add whole fruit, maybe a packet of stevia if you want
Some
to sweeten it up.
cinnamon.
Some cinnamon.
Good.
Yeah, really good. Throw some like honey on it if you want. It's really up to you what you add.
But you're in control of the added
You're
sugar.
in control. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Love that. We're going to avoid sugar added yogurt, go plain. Do you have, what other snacks should we avoid?
Well, another snack that I see a lot now in the supermarket that drives me crazy are like the veggie chips,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not talking about actual vegetables. I'm talking about in the chip aisle, you'll see, not just in the chip aisle, but in the pasta aisle, you'll see veggie infused pastas or veggie infused chips. Oftentimes, I mean, first of all, eating these products is not the equivalent of eating vegetables.
Right.
Right. So like, let's get that out of the way. Let's just bust that myth, right at the get-go. Oftentimes they'll add a little bit of vegetable extract to a whole bunch of cassava flour or wheat flour or rice flour. I mean, at the end of the day, you still have an ultra processed, hyper palatable snack that has a lot of added starches, probably added sugar. And and it's just not the equivalent of eating vegetables.
No.
Yeah, but it's marketed as, I mean, that's the thing about the food industry is that they give no fucks.
Right. And that's where the power of learning to read a nutrition label is so helpful.
Yeah.
I had a friend in college that Trader Joe's put out like a beet chip. And she's like, these chips are so good. They're beets. And I'm like, what? And so I looked at the ingredient list. Beet was like number 7 on the list. First ingredient, corn.
Nuts.
I was like, these are tortilla chips.
Oh, yeah. There are
Yeah.
products that are like, there's at Whole Foods, there's like a brand of, and whatever, like if you want to indulge, maybe it's like slightly better than, who knows? I don't even know,
Yeah.
actually. I don't know. But but there's like it's like cauliflower based pretzels or something.
Yeah.
But you look and the first 3 ingredients are like, it's like cassava flour, rice flour, sunflower oil. And then like 5th or 6th down the line, it's like you get a little bit of like cauliflower powder.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. That's, first of all, it's not going to be as good as a regular pretzel.
No.
And it's not the equivalent of eating cauliflower.
And I'd rather have a baked tortilla chip where like the ingredient is corn. I mean, we love siete, but yeah.
Yeah. So why are you doing that to yourself? That's the thing. Like if I want a tortilla or like a taco shell, I'm going to eat a taco. I'd much rather have a 100% ideally organic corn taco
100%
to eat the taco with, right? Because there's nothing wrong with corn, a little bit of corn,
No.
right? I mean, eating an ear of corn
Love it.
every summer, or during the summer from the barbecue,
Yeah.
right? Then like some of these fake like alternative products. That's why I came back around to dairy, because I was like trying to avoid dairy, eating all these like fake dairy products. And I was like, half of them, like you eat too much, it's like gas city.
Yeah.
It's just like, it makes you feel like you're pregnant afterwards.
Is that do you know what it's like to be pregnant?
I don't know what it's like I don't know. Maybe I identify as pregnant when I feel really, no, I don't know. It's bad. So I was like, let's just see how like eating dairy makes me feel. And I feel
okay.
Yeah. Like the default assumption shouldn't be that these foods are going to make you feel bad. Like
Right.
if they don't make you feel bad, then
Yes.
like you should be able to assess each food and say, okay, what is this food adding to me nutritionally? And if you tolerate dairy is a great source of protein, calcium, magnesium, many other wonderful micronutrients.
Right. What you just said there, I think, was super helpful when it comes to choosing a snack of like, what is this snack adding to me? Because when you look for a snack, what's something you should look for? Just like real quick before we talked about avoidance, but like, what is something, I need a snack.
You want to maximize the amount of satiety that you're getting per calorie. So what that means is that you want a food that's going to make you feel the most sated for the fewest amount of calories. And we know that protein is the most satiating macronutrient. So look for a food, preferentially pick snacks that are high in protein.
Okay.
That's why I always go back to Greek yogurt. I go back to low sugar beef jerky. There are now a number of products on the market that are like just pure beef or chicken or whatever in salt, right? Like there's a company that I buy from all the time. I spend my own money, called Carnivore Crisps. And it's just straight chicken and salt. And they air dry it and it's like a chip. It's like crispy, really tasty. Same with like beef. And you can even get like, if you're feeling adventurous, but I think they're bomb, beef liver crisps. You're eating those. They taste good. One of nature's multivitamins. You're loading your body up with micronutrition. And they're super satiating. Carnivore Crisps, we have a discount code GENIUS if you want to go and try them out. Yeah, like, but also fiber. Fiber is satiating, right? So
Apple.
veggie sticks, whole fruit is highly satiating. So yeah, I'm always like down with the apples, whole fruit, whatever, whatever's in season. So yeah, lots of great options out there. So avoid the snacks that we covered.
Yep.
Or at least minimize your consumption of them, and ideally reach for the healthier alternatives. Hey, if you like that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there. But you'll get massive gains from just like increasing your movement more throughout the day, just walking more throughout the day. If you're trying to lean out, for example, just walk more.